gosh, where are all the Scooby-Doo podcasts?
Look, there's that Groovy Scoobcast.
Yuck!
Season 2 is off to a really interesting start, and I'm beginning to wonder why anyone likes Scooby-Doo.
Says the guy with a Scooby-Doo tattoo.
Hey guys, welcome back to that Groovy Scoobcast, the go-to audio hub for all things Scooby-Doo. My name is Derek.
And I'm Shannon.
Thanks for joining us today. Today we're going to be covering the creepy case of Old Iron Face from the Scooby-Doo show. What were your initial thoughts, Shannon?
So I don't think I ever saw this episode back in the day.
I think I've only seen it once myself before today.
I was very confused during most of this episode.
Okay.
Like, most of the things that we were talking to each other during the episode, just the little comments we'll make back and forth, were questions. Both of us were asking questions the entire time, because neither of us really got it.
There weren't a lot of laughs, I feel like.
No.
There were the occasional ones, but overall, I don't know. But before we dive into that, I do want to kick off this week's Mystery Machine match. Currently, Shannon and I are sitting at a tie, 4 points for each of us. How are you feeling about it this week, Shannon?
I'm feeling good.
Are you? That's a lot of confidence there, Shannon.
Yep.
Well, as always, you can go first. What
was Scrappy tossed from on his first meeting of Scooby-Doo? A train or a bicycle?
A train.
Yeah.
That's in the intro of the cartoon. Yeah. Okay, here's your first question. The teams in Scooby's All-Star Laugh Olympics had to run a relay race up what famously high peak?
Mount Everest?
Yep, you're right.
Ha!
That's weird that they say peak, but...
I don't know any peaks.
All right, what's your next question?
I hope you get this one.
Okay.
What color is Shaggy's shirt?
It depends.
Okay. Normally.
Green.
Okay.
Trick question. It's red.
The funny thing is, it put in parentheses olive, but red is nowhere in this answer.
Wait, what?
So the answer was either olive or green.
What's a kind of green?
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
But red wasn't anywhere in that answer, and sometimes his shirt is red.
Interesting. All right, so that's a point for me. Here's your next question. What is the first name of the Barbera in Hanna-Barbera? Jonathan or Joseph?
Oh, Joseph.
Yes, you are right.
Ha ha ha. I'm learning.
What's your last question?
Finish this phrase by red herring. I didn't say it or do it.
Do it?
Yeah.
That was kind of dumb.
I know.
Here's your last question. In Don't Fool with a Phantom, the Mystery Inc. gang appears on whose dance game show? Johnny Sands or Johnny Rivers?
Johnny Rivers?
Johnny Sands.
Oh, I don't know that one at all.
I wouldn't have known either.
I was thinking Joan Rivers, but I don't know if she ever had a dance thing, but that was the only famous person I could come up with.
Oh, okay.
Famous.
Well, it looks like this week I did get ahead of you by 1 point. I am sitting at 7 and you are sitting at 6.
I can make that point up.
I think you can. You did really well today.
I'm not going down without a fight this season.
Well, that was this week's Mystery Machine match, guys. You ready to start talking about Iron Face?
Yes.
Just to clarify, we are classifying the third season of the Scooby-Doo show as part of the Scooby-Doo show, not Scooby-Doo, Where Are You? And that's just due to the order of which the cartoons came out. Today we're watching the creepy case of Old Iron Face using the free Scooby-Doo Microsoft app. You can also find this episode available on the Scooby-Doo Where Are You Season 3 DVD set, and it's probably also available on iTunes or Amazon. So I'm just going to say this right off the bat so that we aren't misgendering the villain this entire episode. Iron Face is a woman.
Yep.
Just to get that out there right now.
Spoilers.
I'll read you guys our premise coming from Scoobypedia. Old Iron Face, a legendary character who haunts the area around an island prison, terrorizes the gang. That's exactly what she does.
Yeah, I mean, there's not much else to the episode, so I get why the premise is so short.
I feel like my notes are really minimal this week. I don't feel like I have a lot to talk about.
I don't know. This might be a short episode.
We watched this episode 3 times, and that wasn't to, get every single detail or find things to talk about because we don't really have a lot to talk about. It's just the mystery was confusing.
So, in case you guys haven't seen this episode, or if you haven't seen it in a while, it's kind of the exact same plot as A Creepy Heap from a Deep.
If you're unfamiliar with that episode, we reviewed it last season. It was episode 3.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it's basically a recycled mystery, essentially.
So it's confusing for us, though, because they didn't announce that. It took us watching it 3 times, looking it up online, and discussing it between the two of us to even get that far into the mystery.
Right.
They kind of just give you the bare minimum the entire time. A lot of things aren't gone into detail, and so you kind of have to come up and connect the dots yourself, which is why I'm irritated, because this is an episode that was meant for us as kids, and I never would have gotten there.
We're in our 20s and we're still not getting it. The episode starts off with the gang. They're out on a boat water skiing. Shaggy's water skiing, and Fred makes a comment about how the water's getting choppy. And Daphne's saying, what a great day for water skiing. Well, no, that's not the case, Daphne. The water's choppy.
Yeah. So, in this episode, I don't love Daphne. She's not my favorite because she's kind of an idiot. I don't know. She doesn't.
Okay, go on.
She doesn't say a lot, but when she does talk, it's just like, shut the fuck up. So, like in that case, so she's like, what a great day to go water skiing. And it's like all dark and gloomy outside. Fred's talking about...
It looks like there's about to be like a hurricane.
Yeah.
I swear to God, the clouds are wild out there.
And then suddenly, like, the water is all shifting and everything, which, first off, for those who don't spend time in the water, if you're going to go water skiing, you look up what the weather is going to be like for the day. And if it starts getting choppy, that shit gets dangerous quick and, like, get the fuck out of the water.
I was scared for Shaggy.
I was! Because they didn't try to pull him in or anything. They were like, we're just going to head back to shore. And I'm like, so you're going to beach Shaggy? Like, you're going 40 miles per hour. You're going to kill him.
I noted that the artwork in the background was really sloppy. I know that Hanna-Barbera cartoons aren't high quality, especially when they were in the 70s and 80s, but a lot of the time while Shaggy was water skiing and eventually, Scooby got knocked off the boat and he was kind of doing somersaults with Shaggy, there were a lot of points where I couldn't tell where the water began and the sky began. Like, they kind of
that also
became just really mixed up. And I think it comes down to the colors.
Yeah.
And there's just really no clear horizon. It was just really bugging me the entire time. It was just really jarring to look at.
Well, and it also kind of shows how disgusting it was outside weather-wise.
Yeah.
That, like, the sky and the dark water underneath them was the same color. I will say, besides all the negativity, that whole scene, besides all, like, the dark and gloomy clouds and everything, that scene was kind of cute. Shaggy's on the back water skiing. They're having a nice time. So it was kind of like, it's kind of like the Creepy Heap from a Deep when they're out having a picnic on the water and all of a sudden it's dark and gloomy and disgusting out. But it was a cute scene. They're having fun. It's gang time, whatever. And Scooby falls into the water. They
Shannon,
start doing acrobats.
We should have seen this from the very beginning based on the title. The Creepy Heap from the Deep. The Creepy Case of Old Iron Face.
Yeah, they didn't try very hard.
Going back to, them water skiing, Daphne makes a comment that Scooby and Shaggy are showing off because, like, now Scooby's sitting on Shaggy's shoulders and they're doing a bunch of poses on the water skiing, which I will say I cannot do.
No, and
I tried that once and I fell on my face.
And that hurts.
Oh, yes, it did.
But it's cute. Like I said, it is a cute little scene besides dark and gloomy clouds. Like, it is a cute little scene for the beginning.
Fred announces that a school of man-eating sharks are approaching the boat.
And they said it very calmly. Like, hey, look.
There's like 10 sharks charging at your boat.
Yeah.
In single file. Are you serious?
Now, again, the reason I hate Daphne this episode, her response to that is that if it's a school, that must be the teacher.
We see the villain, Old Iron Face, standing on 2 sharks that are swimming side by side, and she's whipping the sharks.
Yeah.
And
think like Santa Claus.
The sharks and Iron Face hone in on Scooby and Shaggy, who are out on the water. They're really vulnerable.
Easy targets.
And Scooby starts telling Shaggy, what was it? How did they end up having a stroke in the water? Did they get disconnected from the boat?
No, so I don't know if they got disconnected from the boat. I think they did. I don't know when it happened. But the sharks started eating the paddles, and so that made them fall. So I think maybe he let go of the hand thing. But because they bit both of the skis.
Yeah.
And so they started having to paddle.
Scooby was sitting on Shaggy's shoulders and going, stroke, 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 stroke. Scooby, you're going to give me a stroke watching this episode.
Right.
He didn't say it in this instance, but I wrote it down here just so that we can keep it in mind for the rest of the episode. Shaggy has a really funny nickname for Iron Face. I really love it. And he calls Iron Face Iron Puss.
Wait, no, because I had that. I wanted to talk about it later. Because I think the poi got to Shaggy's head and he couldn't remember the word Iron Face. Throughout the episode, he refers to him as Rust Face, Iron Puss, Tin Puss, and Metal Puss.
What's with the puss?
I don't know.
Where are you getting that?
No idea.
Unless he's trying to be off-color sexist because Iron Face is a woman.
But we don't know that yet.
But what I'm saying is Iron Pussy?
Okay, so the reason why it caught my attention was because when he first said Iron Puss, I went, what the fuck did he just say?
Yeah.
And then the second time we watched it, I had to write down everything he said because he referred to Iron Face as a few different things, but it was always something puss.
Now, he gives nicknames and makes fun of the villain in other episodes too. I just thought he had a multitude of names for this character.
Like, I think this one was just he legit couldn't remember the name. And so he just kept coming up with some sort of material with puss.
Right.
Or face.
They managed to escape Iron Face. They, managed to get to shore. Later in the evening, they are having dinner at this local restaurant called Mama Mione's. They're supposed to be meeting their tour guide, Captain Morgan, who's going to be taking them to a closed prison on an island offshore, the island being called Skull Island. Now,
we learn that Captain Morgan is their tour guide. He is more than 2 hours late at this point. They're at Mama Mione's eating this delicious dinner.
They haven't eaten yet.
Oh, right.
They've been sitting there for 2 hours, and they haven't ordered a thing.
Can you do me a favor? If we're ever supposed to meet for dinner and I'm 2 hours late, please figure out where the fuck I am because...
Just assume that you're dead.
Yeah,
or missing.
Like, one of two things. If I'm 30 minutes late and I show up to dinner, I expect you to already be eating because, like, unless I text you and I'm like, hey, I'm going to be a little late, wait for me. Like, if you haven't heard shit from me, assume I'm dead and just go ahead and eat dinner and then come find me.
I feel like in this case, I would have either ordered or I would have left.
Yeah.
I would not have waited
2 hours.
Sat for you for 2 hours not hearing anything. And now, granted, this is the 1970s. They don't have cell phones, so they can't just text Captain Morgan and be like, hey, where are you?
Like, bro, where are you at?
But I feel like even back then, I wouldn't have had the patience to sit there for 2 hours and not have done anything.
Well, and because at that point, anyone that shows up 2 hours late is under, like, you're in deep shit. Like, you don't just show up somewhere 2 hours late. So, yeah.
Daphne says that Captain Morgan was going to be joining them after he was done inspecting the island they're going to be going to see. Like I said, this island is called Skull Island. The reason being is that it looks like a skull. I think it's funny that skull islands are really common in the Scooby-Doo universe. In the Scooby-Doo show series, the same series that this episode falls in, there's Great Skull Island in the episode Vampire Bats and Scaredy Cats, and an island of the same name, just Skull Island, appeared in Go Away Ghost Ship. It's just, I think it's funny that there's a lot of geography in the Scooby-Doo universe that resemble human skulls.
Maybe they're giant skulls.
Like they're real skulls?
Yeah.
They're not islands, they're skulls.
Yeah, and the reason they're islands is because there's like a giant underneath it.
That'd be insane.
Like you're just stepping on the skull.
We will expand on this at another time. I noted that Scooby was eating a clam chowder, I believe it was.
Yeah.
And
soup, I think.
Was it soup? And we've already established that Scooby doesn't like clams. That was confirmed when I provided the fun fact a couple weeks ago where I said in the Scooby-Doo Where Are You series, it was confirmed that he doesn't like clams.
Yeah, he likes a lot of stuff, but not clams.
And yet he's eating this chowder that has live clams in it. And the clam grabs his pepper, pours it into his spoon, and then blows it in his face.
Well, that's why he doesn't like clams. We just saw the exact moment that Scooby figured out he doesn't like clams.
Is this the moment?
Yeah.
Okay. Scooby sneezes when he gets the pepper in his face.
Oh, right.
He sneezes and forces himself back against a wall where he knocks off a bunch of framed pictures that were on the wall. And that's when he finds this picture of this redheaded woman who's water skiing.
Who looks just like Daphne.
Yeah.
Purple bathing suit and all.
It turns out that's Mama Mignone. That's the waitress or the owner of the restaurant.
We learned that Mama Mignone was a world-class skier. She's A++ at it.
She explains to the gang why they shouldn't go to Skull Island when they find out that they're waiting for Captain Morgan. She says that it's haunted by a pirate who used to be imprisoned on the prison on the island. And the reason why he has the name Old Iron Face
oh my God.
is because the warden thought he was mean and didn't want to look at his face, so he welded an iron mask on the pirate. What the fuck?
First off, I'm pretty sure that's illegal.
This was in the 1800s.
I'm pretty sure torture has always been illegal. You know what? I don't know.
I just thought that was the most...
I
just thought that was the stupidest thing I've ever heard.
And it wasn't even because honestly, as bad as this is going to sound, I could see a warden being like, you're so ugly, I don't want to look at your face and I'm going to weld it on. But it was just, you're mean.
Yeah, so iron mask, welding on your face.
That shit hurts.
At this point, Fred decides that everybody should go ahead and eat.
So, Shaggy, being Shaggy, orders 8 hamburgers, 2 licorice pizzas.
What the fuck is a licorice pizza, by the way?
A pint of Tutti Frutti ice cream, unto which he does ask for hot sauce, and 6 tacos.
The reason why the hot sauce was important was because after they ate, Daphne said it was a great restaurant, and Shaggy says, yeah, except for the fact that she forgot to give me the hot sauce on my ice cream.
Which, you asked for an entire pint of ice cream, you could have asked her for some hot sauce if she forgot it. If a waitress forgets something, you can remind them.
They're not going to mind.
As they're walking out of the restaurant talking about how good the food is, they look around the corner, and there's a whole bunch of boxes that the Illuminati sent them.
Yeah. The restaurant's receiving a delivery of food, and on the side of the truck, it has the all-seeing eye on the side of it.
So welcome the Illuminati to the Scooby-Doo universe.
This isn't the first time we've seen that, remember? Velma's mom is part of it.
Yeah. Well, welcome back.
Fred decides that they are going to go and look for Captain Morgan. So they figure the one place that they should go and look is Skull Island.
Can I say something funny? Because it only happened to us. It wouldn't happen to
anyone else. It was our own
else.
personal experience, yes.
As we were watching the episode, he goes, well, we have to go look for Captain Morgan. And Shaggy plugs his ears and goes, Fred, don't say it. I don't want to hear it. Our laptop stopped. It was done. Shaggy didn't want to hear Fred so much that he paused our laptop.
That was annoying. I had to reconnect that shit. So they go down to the docks where they're going to look for a boat that they can rent. At first, I thought they were just going to jack a boat and go.
Yeah, I know.
Because they found the sand crab, and I thought they were just going to hop in and go.
It was completely implied that they were just going to hop in it and go. And then suddenly Velma's like, I wonder if you can rent it.
As they're coming down onto the docks, Velma's going, gosh, where are all the boats? And Fred says, look, there's one.
And Daphne yucks it.
She's like yuck!
There is no other boat. Shut the fuck up.
You don't get to be picky here, Daphne.
Daphne just pissed me off this episode. I'm sorry. I'm usually a fan of hers. Not today.
This is when they're introduced to the owner of the sand crab boat, Captain Flint.
Who had no reason to be in the episode.
I am so frustrated by Captain Flint. I'm just going to say it right now. He's a federal agent who is undercover and investigating Iron Face.
Which the only time we find that out is after the mystery is solved. We see him 3 times in this episode. In this moment right here is when he is introduced, under which he only has like 3 lines, which is...
He just says, don't go to Skull Island.
Yeah.
I'm not taking you to Skull Island.
I'm not taking you. My boat's not for rent. Don't go yourselves. So, of course they go anyway. We see him for a half second after the gang gets to the island and they split up. We see him pull up in his boat and walk onto the island. That's it. That's all you see. And then at the very end, when the mystery is solved, he comes out and he's like, yeah, good job. I've been working on this case for months.
At least with the undercover cop in A Tiki Scare Is No Fair, we saw the old man disguise like throughout the episode. Like we were constantly wondering who this guy was.
Well, and the gang interacted with the old man.
Exactly. Captain Flint only interacts with the gang once, and he tells them not to go to the island.
Yeah.
So they do exactly what he tells them not to do, for one. They solve the mystery, and then he pops him and has been like, oh yeah, I've been investigating this for months. What the fuck were you in this episode for? You were here, like, I think a total out of the entire episode, I think he was only in this episode for 45 seconds.
Well, and the whole point of him was that he's not going to take them to the island. And they just, I think they steal. I don't think they rented that boat with the glass bottom.
Oh, yeah, because we never see the person that they rent that boat from.
Yeah, so I think they took that one. But, I mean, they took another boat anyway, so the whole point of him was pointless.
Well, I think he was supposed to serve as a red herring, because when we do see him get onto the island himself, I think that's supposed to imply that, oh, he's up to something, maybe he's Iron Face, but it's so minuscule, like, you never see him again.
They never, like, remind us that he's on the island, so I forgot he was on the island.
Yeah, because it was such a short scene.
Yeah.
Like I said, I think Captain Flint only appeared in the episode for a total of 45 seconds. Probably.
Well, and that second part we keep mentioning is literally so short. I feel like we're beating a dead horse here, but I want to just... It was so short, it was like, the transition screens that go across. That's how short it was. He was a transition screen.
I feel like they could have substituted the entire plot point of Captain Flint with explaining what the fuck happened to Captain Morgan's boat.
Yeah.
To explain this. So the gang do hop in a boat and they do go out to the island. They're taking a glass bottom boat, which Velma complains about. She says, glass bottom boat is better than nothing. I feel like I'd be excited personally about having one. I know that you aren't because you don't really like the idea of seeing the ocean, but...
Well, okay. I would love the idea of a glass bottom boat, but I need to, like, prep for that.
Anyway.
Especially if I know there's sharks out there, I can't just hop in a glass bottom boat willy-nilly. I have to prep.
Anyway, while they're out there, they discover a sunken ship that looks like it got hit by a torpedo, Velma says. And that's when they realize that that's Captain Morgan's ship. It's never explained, really, how that boat wound up at the bottom. We'll talk about it later, but just something that I think could have been explained more in order to substitute the existence of Captain Flint in the story. While they're also out there on the glass bottom ship, they're looking at all the sea life underneath. They see some seahorses, they see a catfish, and that's when they spot a dogfish.
Which looks like a fish with Scooby's head.
And it says Scooby-Dooby-Doo. Because that's fine. So they arrive at Skull Island. Like I said before, the island is a huge skull. And the prison is just sitting right on top of the skull head.
Like a crown.
It looks so out of place.
Yeah.
Like, it looks like it could slide off of that island so easily.
I would be so scared if I was in prison there. Like,
I'd be scared working there.
Yeah, that too. So the gang splits up, like normal. Scooby and Shaggy are to go investigate the prison.
Yes.
And the rest of them are going to explore the sand. I don't know. So Scooby and Shaggy go into the prison. And they, like, knock on the front door and ask if anyone's home.
And they hear this, like, ominous, no.
Now, here's my thing. We know that this island is supposedly haunted. And that no was definitely not...
Iron Face?
Iron Face.
So you're convinced it's a ghost?
Yeah.
All
it's
right.
probably the only thing that makes sense about this episode.
I like that Shaggy casually accepted it. He's like, oh, okay, good.
Yeah.
And then they just kept coming in. They realize what's actually going on, and they kind of panic. They run into Iron Face, who chases them, and they go and hide in this hallway. They slam a bunch of doors, and they, nail and barricade the doors.
So they run through doors 101, 102, and 103.
Yes.
They barricade each individual door differently.
Yep.
And Iron Face just fucking, football tackles each individual door.
That's fucking terrifying.
So scared. It literally reminded me of, a football workout when they have those stands that they have to, push across the field.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it reminded me of.
I like that when the villains are in disguise, they gain super strength, and it's never explained where they get this super strength from.
Yeah.
I know that the villain, Mama Mio, and I'll just say it now, I know that she's a, real masculine-looking and larger, well-built woman. But it's not really explained ever, water any kind of strength or training that went into that. We know that she's a water skier.
But I don't think that takes... water
skiing...
skiing...
That has to have upper body strength.
Yeah, but not that much. Not like I'm pushing down 3 barricades.
She broke down those doors with ease. I don't think she struggled.
No, she just ran. So after... Well, in the last one, it's important to note, she really only took down 2 doors. She shoved the other 2 doors against 103 and then proceeded to just open each individual door.
That's still more strength than I have.
Oh, no, I know.
I'm terrified if she can just do it with 1. So, meanwhile, Daphne, Velma, and Fred discover a large electromagnetic crane that are out on the dock of the island. After Fred, Daphne, and Velma discover the crane, they start going back into the island, and I don't know exactly where they found it. Was it in that building that was right there?
So there was a house that was right on the dock or right next to the dock or something. So they went in there.
And that's where they discover a bunch of metal cargo boxes.
That the Illuminati supplied.
Yeah, it has the same emblem that they saw on the truck back at Mama Mion's. Inside these cargo containers are boxes of food. There are imported cheeses, there is caviar.
Fancy fruits.
And there's a box of fancy fruits. I really want to know what fancy fruits are.
Okay, so I looked it up, and from what I can tell, what is categorized as, a fancy fruit is anything that's kind of, exotic. So, a dragon fruit, or even in some cases, a kiwi. Anything that's not, an apple, banana, orange.
I just like that it was just labeled fancy fruits.
Yeah.
I feel like it could have just said, imported fruits.
Well, and because, everything else was very labeled. There was Norwegian dates, and there was all this other stuff, and then just fancy fruits.
Fancy fruits.
There is a company named Fancy Fruits, so when I tried to look it up, it kept taking me to their website.
Back with Shaggy and Scooby, they are still being pursued by Iron Face, and they go and hide behind the store, and when Iron Face approaches, they come out disguised as prison guards. They trick Iron Face into doing a march and doing jumping jacks, which they slyly escape from.
And Iron Face, of course, is more angry than ever because that's how every villain acts after they dress up and trick them. I agree with Iron Face on this because if someone tricked me into exercising, I'd be pissed.
They run into the prison kitchen, and they're evading Iron Face, and they seem to have gotten away from her when Scooby starts bumping a bunch of pans and kettles and alerting Iron Face as to where they are.
So then they run out into the courtyard and dive into the barrel. And Iron Face is really smart. She looks around, she sees all the floodlights, and she hops up into a guard tower and starts using the floodlight to find where they hid.
That was a smart maneuver.
And that was really smart. We haven't seen that kind of intelligence from our bad guys before.
We've seen the witch doctor get tricked by Velma and Shaggy disguised as Jane and Tarzan.
Yeah, I mean, most of the time they decrease in intelligence.
I think that's the payoff for the super strength.
Probably. You get super bronze or super smart.
They escape from the barrel after Iron Face does some really funny sounding grunts, I will admit. She goes, "Arr! Arr!" These villains, I love their sounds.
Oh, well, and with the barrel, because when she uses the floodlight and finds them in the barrel, Scooby puts his hand out and starts doing shadow
the puppet
puppets.
shadow, yeah.
No, here's my thing. That was a really cute thing. But also, like, thinking about it, because it took me after, like, the second, or it might have even been the third time watching it, the floodlight is on his hand. She can see his hand. And I was like, I never thought of that. But it was really cute. Like, he was doing all the animals, and, like, that's what made me laugh, is when he did the lion, she started roaring for it. It was like, oh.
I thought it was really funny how they tried to draw Scooby in the barrel, because you know how whenever they draw a barrel in cartoons, they have that little hole on the side?
Yeah.
So there was a moment where you could see the small hole, but you could see Scooby's eyes, both of them, peering out of the hole. Like, they were drawn super small. I just thought that was a really weird thing for the artists to do.
I don't know. So after they get out of the barrel and they're, you know, running around the courtyard still, they run up this ladder. And they get to the top, and Shaggy goes, "Are you ready? Make a wish."
Scooby and Shaggy tear the sides of the ladder apart as Iron Face is coming up the rungs, and the rungs and Iron Face just kind of float there for a moment, and then they just all fall. So that's when Shaggy starts using the legs of the ladder as stilts, and they're just escaping on the stilts.
Iron Face takes an axe, which, where did she get the axe?
I don't know.
And starts chopping the legs of the stilts down.
I think it's funny that, like, every member of the gang knows how to use stilts.
It is a good thing to learn. I feel like you and I need to learn it.
Oh, okay.
If we're going to be adventurers.
Okay.
Because, like, apparently it's a thing you need to know. It has gotten them out of some seriously awkward situations.
If we ever become mystery solvers, we need to know this.
Yeah.
As Iron Face is chopping down the stilts, Scooby and Shaggy end up being able to escape. They hit the edge of the courtyard on the wall, and they fly down a laundry chute. We'll return to that in a moment. Meanwhile, Fred, Daphne, and Velma, they discover a passageway with fresh footprints down on the island. Yep. It looks like it's going into the mouth of the skull from the looks of where it is.
See, I think it was a door.
It was a door, but I think it's hidden in the mouth of the skull.
Oh,
it was
okay.
really unclear to me where it was. It was somewhere down on the island below the prison. They think it's another entryway to the prison. They climb up the stairs. I noticed at one point that Velma's foot was, like, drawn over the stair. I don't know. It was a weird little thing. But that's when they discover this really nice, fancy banquet room. And this is where I just started to kind of lose it. I'm like, what is going on in this episode? They explore this now underground mansion, as Velma describes it, and they start to look around. They find a bedroom that looks like people tried to leave in a hurry. There's sheets and there's clothes and stuff everywhere. And something I noted from this scene was there was a moment when Velma was talking, like her lips were moving, but Daphne's voice was coming out.
Yeah.
You know, just another case of them switching bodies.
It happens.
Like they do. They enter what looks like the kitchen area of this underground mansion, which looks like it was freshly stocked. There's fresh food in this kitchen. And they start to hear really loud moaning through one of the kitchen vents. So they go and find where the moaning is coming from. It looks like it's a dungeon where they go, or some kind of a torture chamber.
And no, they weren't having dungeon sex.
They find Captain Morgan in a pit.
Yeah, just a random pit, too.
And he's gagged, but he's moaning really loud.
Like, if you can moan that loud, you need to be yelling for help.
Right. After they manage to get him out of the pit, he says that he's been down there for hours, so why are you still moaning?
Like,
it's been hours.
Like, he's just been moaning for hours.
He says that he beached his boat when he got to the island.
So this is where our confusion comes in.
Because my question is, was he beaching his boat, like, out of a panic? Or did he mean to say that he docked his boat? Because then I don't really understand how the boat ends up underwater with a huge hole in it, looking like it got hit by a torpedo.
I would like to know what his reaction was when he found out that his boat was at the bottom of the ocean. Because clearly he is unaware of it right now.
It's just funny because it's never brought up again at the end.
No, we see it on the bottom of the ocean, and the next time the boat is mentioned, he goes, "Oh, well, I beached my boat." And I was like, so did they torpedo it and then sink it? Or, like, what was going on?
It's never mentioned again.
No.
Like I said before, Shaggy and Scooby go down that laundry chute.
Yep.
They land in a pile of dirty clothes, which I think is funny that there's still dirty clothes at this closed prison.
Well, and that was my question, is why is there so much laundry? Because it's been closed for years, and it's about to be turned into a tourist spot. So unless you're going to use dirty laundry as like, this is where they did the prisoners' laundry, like...
I want a picture with it.
Use fake laundry, because that shit is nasty.
I like when Shaggy picked up one of the shirts that has a prison...
number on it?
Yeah. And he says, this guy must have had so many shirts, he has to put numbers on them. They see Iron Face coming down this ladder, which is coming up from above. They panic and they run away. Now they're in this room where they discover a bunch of torpedoes, which are being painted to look like sharks. So this is where we discover that the sharks that Iron Face was riding at the beginning of the episode are really torpedoes. I want to know how these torpedoes, which are painted like sharks, are biting people and biting water skis. How are they functioning like sharks? They're torpedoes.
I don't have the slightest idea.
That's not explained. It's just something that I feel the animators and writers forgot, because they seem really forgetful when they're putting together these episodes. It was just a nitpick of mine. But I think it's funny that the torpedo theme is returning in this case like it did in A Creepy Heap from the Deep. Because the torpedoes were in that episode too. Yeah. It's literally just copy-paste, change the villain a little bit, and you're good.
Yeah.
Which, that's bound to happen when a cartoon is almost 50 years old. You know, some mysteries will get recycled, maybe even titles. But this is 2 episodes in the same series. I actually looked up the dates that these episodes were released. They were released probably about a year apart.
So, like, we definitely should have noticed this.
This is when Scooby and Shaggy hop in one of the torpedoes to try and escape Iron Face. They launch and they go. Iron Face hops on
2 of them.
2 of them, and, you know, she goes as well after them. Fred, Daphne, Velma, and Captain Morgan are now standing on the dock, watching Scooby and Shaggy and Iron Face riding on the torpedoes throughout the water nearby. And, you know, they're not doing anything.
They let that go on way longer than it need to.
Fred came up with a really clever plan, though. I liked his plan where he hops in the electromagnetic crane, and when Scooby, Shaggy, and Iron Face ride underneath the crane, he turns it on to magnetically capture old Iron Face by her mask.
Well, and the funny thing was, when he started doing it, I knew what was about to happen, but I thought that the torpedoes would get connected and she'd get stuck that way. I forgot about her Iron Face.
I thought it was a clever capture, though.
Oh, it was 100% a great capture. I wasn't, when her face hit the metal, I laughed. That was probably that was the only time I laughed during this episode.
She was hanging off the crane by her face.
I'm like, that just has to be kind of uncomfortable.
This is when it's revealed. It's Mama Mignone. And
they spew out the information of how, they spew it out so quickly. Again, we had to watch this 3 times just to write down what happened, because it's, the cafe was covered and they smuggled out, blah, 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 blah. And you're just like, what?
Let's try and piece this all together. Basically, the Mama Mignone's restaurant was a cover business for her real scheme, which was taking convicts to the island. They're hiding out in the fancy rooms and with the really fancy food. And then they're being shipped out, hidden in the shark torpedoes. And the Iron Face getup is brought about so that it's scaring boaters and other people away from the island. The reason why the place is deserted at the moment is because everyone heard that Captain Morgan was going to be starting to do tours on Skull Island, and they all wanted out. So they all must have hopped in the torpedoes and went. I'm confused because, are these convicts coming from somewhere else?
Well, so here's kind of what I got. So the cafe was a cover, yes. That's why the food was so good, because the convicts are paying her to feed them well. These are from what I can see, we never see any of the convicts. So from what I can gather...
we see them in the flashback, but we never actually meet one.
Yeah. So from what I can gather, they're like mob bosses. They got money.
Okay.
And so they're like, we want good food.
Okay.
We don't want to be served slop. So she's shipping in all of this really good, expensive food. And that's the whole comment that Daphne made of that was really good food for such a small restaurant. I thought it was insulting. Turns out it was a clue.
Yeah. That's actually kind of nice, though, that it was a clue.
Yeah. So then they had this nice mansion because, again, these people want nice things. So they're living in this mansion, hanging out until she can stuff them in a torpedo and shoot them God knows where.
But are they coming from the prison or are they coming from elsewhere? Because it's been established.
It was elsewhere.
It has to be because they established that the prison has been closed for years.
Yeah.
But the way that I first interpreted the story was that they're current prisoners and like the prison is still operating. So I was super confused.
Well, and I was too until I made the connection of a creepy heap from a deep. And then it was like, oh, well, that makes sense.
My question is where they're going after they leave Skull Island. Because in a creepy heap from the deep, they're being smuggled out of the country.
Well, and in that case, they were being smuggled out of the country because and they were able to do so because they made them like new passports and dyed their hair. In this one, they're being shoved in a torpedo and shot somewhere.
But it's not explained where they're going. It doesn't seem like there's like a huge network of like where they're going next. That part's like really unclear to me.
Like, I think it'd be interesting if it was kind of like an underground railroad of like shark torpedo. Like they shoot them up.
Shark torpedo underground railroad.
So they like shoot the torpedo off to the next place who then like smuggle them out. Like maybe they torpedo them to the creepy heap from a deep. They dye their hair and then ship them out of the country.
It's all connected.
Oh, I figured it out.
Okay, I'm going to accept that
because nothing else makes sense.
That's why these mysteries sound super similar. It's because they're a connected crime.
They're connected. I'm breaking you guys open.
That's when Captain Flint comes out of nowhere.
Absolutely nowhere.
And reveals that he is Federal Agent Hargroves and that he's been working on this case for months and congratulates the gang on solving the mystery. What the fuck have you been doing for all these months?
Okay, so it's the same thing that I said with a Tiki Scare because in order to solve a mystery, you have to be involved. So he needed to, instead of just be some random fisherman, he needed to figure out and include himself in the gang, become part of the people that deliver the food or do whatever. Like, I'm not trying to tell you how to do your job, but like, come on, man, you've been working on it for months and you got nothing.
I don't even think you need to do that. I'm just wondering, what are you doing all these months?
He was fishing.
I don't know, because the gang was able to figure it out in one night.
In a few hours.
Right. Oh, I've been doing this for months. You work for the FBI and it took you months to figure this shit out?
Yeah.
I don't know. That was just so painfully unnecessary. I was angry. My last note was, the after scene where the gang are now out on the boat and they're, enjoying their time out on the water. And now they're wondering where Scooby is because he's not on the boat. He's riding the torpedo sharks. Okay. Why was he allowed to keep the torpedo sharks?
Two things. First off, how often do you hop on a boat, get halfway home, and go, where's my dog? And second off, exactly. Why was he allowed to hop on torpedoes and ride them? And then he was riding them with his eyes closed.
Was he?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't see that.
Because he had his eyes closed. And then Shaggy's like, Scooby, look out for the boat. And that's when he opened his eyes and he was like, oh shit, there's a boat there. And then he like almost crashed into the boat. He was underwater. He went to the
underneath the glass bottom of the boat, yeah. And, he does the Scooby-Dooby-Doo and the episode's over.
He definitely would have drowned. I don't know.
So, the creepy case of Old Iron Face. How many Scooby Snacks did you give this episode on the Scooby Snack-O-Meter?
Okay. Initially, I know you're going to be so mad.
Oh, no.
Initially, I had given it a 4.
Okay.
Because I just cracked it open and I'm connecting it. I'm making it canon. It is now part of...
You can't see it, guys. I'm shaking my head in anger. Go on, Shannon.
I'm making it canon that it is now part. That's where they ship the torpedoes over to
the creepy heap from the deep.
And then they smuggled them out of the country. Now that I have made that connection, I'm comfortable. I'm going to give it a 5.
Okay. Further elaborate. What was it initially?
Well, it was a 4 initially because I there was a lot of questions. I didn't get it. I didn't have a lot of fun watching it. But, like, as we talk it through, I mean, there's still questions, but I think for the most part, you and I can figure it out. We were able to Google a lot of things.
We shouldn't have had to Google things. Kids in the 70s didn't have Google.
Well, kids nowadays do. But no, I mean, I think initially if we were watching this back in the 70s, then yeah, it would have been like a 3 because, like, fuck that. But, you know, we're watching it nowadays. We have the connection because we even had to Google on Scoobypedia to see what was going on. So, I mean, I'm giving it a 5 because we were able to make the connections needed. We were able to figure out what was going on.
I am going to oppose you on this. I'm giving this episode a 3 myself.
Okay.
The headcanon that we're developing of it's connected to a creepy heap from the deep, while it's entertaining and it does make sense to me, for me personally, it doesn't justify giving it more points than what it earned on its own.
Okay.
I didn't find the episode overall entertaining myself. I didn't laugh a lot.
No.
I think I found a Tiki Scare is no fair funnier, and I was laughing at that.
We laughed a lot.
There wasn't a lot to laugh at this one. There were some funny bits where I laughed, but I don't really think it was because of anything that was happening in the episode plot-wise or anything that anyone said. There were just some really funny animation errors that I noticed that I've seen on the Scooby-Doo Mistakes Tumblr page, and that was just really funny for me to contextualize. But the episode on its own, based on its own merit, I'm giving it a 3. I just didn't really find it funny. I don't know.
Okay.
So with my 3 and your 5, we collectively give The Creepy Case of Old Iron Face a 4.
Congratulations.
You did better than a Tiki Scare is no fair. So, okay. So are you ready for the fun fact of the week?
Sure.
Well, this is not going to be the last time we see Old Iron Face.
Dun dun dun.
Yeah. So Old Iron Face will make an appearance in Scooby-Doo and the Cyber Chase, as well as Scooby-Doo Franken-Creepy.
Oh.
Yeah, in Scooby-Doo and the Cyber Chase, they encounter a cyber version of the villain, and I think it was Thelma and her cyber double that were pursued by her in cyberspace. Meanwhile, in Scooby-Doo Franken-Creepy, I believe Iron Face only made a cameo in it. I think they were just talking about past villains or something like that. And they referenced Old Iron Face in there too. So I think it's just really funny that, in my opinion, this really obscure character is making appearances in future entities of the Scooby-Doo franchise.
It always amazes me, the characters that they decide to bring back is always the ones that, like, aren't our favorites. Mm-hmm. And so it's kind of funny to be like, you know, there are so many other, not better villains, but just more known villains or villains.
More iconic villains, yeah.
Villains that made a better appearance. And then they chose, like, Old Iron Face. And it's like, oh, okay.
The very first time I ever saw Old Iron Face was Scooby-Doo and the Cyber Chase.
Okay.
I didn't even see Old Iron Face in its original context. So, you know, like I said, just kind of an obscure villain in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
But, interesting fun fact, I thought, considering we just watched this episode.
Definitely.
So next week, we're going to be moving on to the original Scooby-Doo and Scrappy-Doo show.
Which you guys know is my favorite.
Every series is your favorite, Shannon.
That's depressing.
Well, are you ready to randomize our next episode?
Always.
All right, let's hit it.
And next week's episode is Strange Encounters of a Scooby Kind.
I don't think I've seen this one before.
I definitely have not.
This episode's premise is coming from Scoobypedia. The gang is camping when they come across a mystery involving a strange space creature and a stolen shipment of radioactive material.
I'm excited.
I guess we'll see where it goes.
I'm interested.
I really don't have a prior opinion on this episode.
No,
so.
I'm interested. It seems interesting. I'm hopeful that we will like this one.
If you'd like to watch this episode before we talk about it next week, you can find it available on the Scooby-Doo and Scrappy-Doo The Complete Season 1 DVD set. It's also available on iTunes, I imagine Amazon, and the Microsoft Scooby-Doo app, which is free. If you guys want to talk to us about the creepy case of Old Iron Face or Strange Encounters of a Scooby Kind, or anything Scooby-Doo related, really, you can find us on Twitter at Groovy Scoobcast, or you can email us at thatgroovyscoobcast@gmail.com.
You can also visit us on our website at www.thatgroovyscoobcast.com. So we've also been working really hard on some new things for you guys. One of them we are ready to announce.
We are going to be selling pins from That Groovy Scoobcast. It has our lovely logo and background artwork on it. A link to where you can buy one is going to be made available on our website as well as Twitter. It's going to be featured on my personal Etsy, which is called Queen Design Shop. There you can pick up as many buttons as you want so you yourself can sport being a Scoobcaster. Woohoo!
Me and Derek personally have them, so you guys get to match us.
Yay! Let's all promote That Groovy Scoobcast together. And with that, we hope that you enjoyed this week's That Groovy Scoobcast.
Come back next week for a Scooby snack-filled time.
Bye, guys!
Bye!